That never did happen before. And even next to that, grapefruit tree. You look at the grapefruit tree, loaded. About like 50 grapefruits, fruiting for the whole year. You still wonder, what the hell happened with that? How come they, what's going on with that? Next door, inside that house, we got a whole beehive. You never put the two and two together. But that is how the thing keeps fruiting year after year, is because the bees. It's all this kind of stuff, this kind of, again, like experts coming to us, teaching us about this stuff. It's not us. That's what pu'uhonua sending these people to us. That's that, this change gotta happen. And our people gotta be the ones to lead the world in it. That's the kuleana of us. It's all important to us. It's not our big head and our ego saying that. That's us guys stepping into that reality, stepping into that faith that our people really gonna teach the world about world peace. Yeah. That's not gonna happen if we're not successful. We gotta become successful.
Aloha mai kako, it's Mike here again for the Kia'i Conversations, and I'm in the Nation of Hawai'i today, sitting here with Uncle Bumpy and Brandon, and I'm gonna have a little talk with them. Super grateful to be here today. So, summarize the pu'uhonua over here. What does it mean to you personally?
It means a lot of work. When I think about it in one, a lot of work that seems to have flown by, like in the last 25, 30 years. And to describe that, and I think this is a dream for Hawaiians in general that they wish they could have. And believe it or not, it is for Hawaiians, for our people. It is a beginning, a point of something our people can attach themselves to. Mm-hmm. And because the pu'uhonua was, according to our history, was a refuge for people in need, people in trouble, and so and we kind of had that over here happen to us, where people ran here. The cops right behind them, chasing them to the village. Right?
Not the Hawaii 501.
No, I mean we had like
real
life kind, which is how Hawaii 501 got them. But that's something that I've always been proud of. I've always been protective of too. Until now, until when Brandon came, he gave light to the rest of our people. That helped like move from what we did back that time in the resistance and all that into more of like opening up ourselves to share and show what we've done over here. Because it's not just about a refuge where people can run away and go hide and stay and whatever, but this place has turned into a place where people trying to make lives for themselves, Now, everybody that from here was houseless, homeless, houseless, and and when they came here, that's when everybody's life started to like grow, because we had to chop trees, we had to clean the land. I mean, you know, trees were like 100, at least average 100 feet, and thousands of them. And, you know, and that along with still holding a stance of sovereignty, and that all encompasses pu'uhonua. The whole movement is on pu'uhonua, really.
Yeah.
You know, one refuge for all people to you come in and out if they choose to. You know. But this village is that icon. It's always been, and you know, it's been a long struggle, and going to continue to be on struggle because we get so many, you know, things that we gotta work on to unite, to come together. Pu'uhonua is a good thing.
What about you, man?
I think, to me, this pu'uhonua represents, like Uncle said, you know, everything Uncle said, but like one refuge, right? For our people, all of them. Not just the people that live here, because me and Uncle, we don't live here. Our sovereignty lives here. And so we come here to exercise that sovereignty. Just like that kind with Mr. Rogers, he come in and he take off his hat and he take off his kind and he put on his house slippers. That's what we do. We come into this gate, we take off our outside shoes and we put on our sovereignty shoes and we go to work. And that's what this place can be for everybody. This way everybody's sovereignty lives right now, whether they agree with it or not. We holding that for them. All we let them do is come over here, come claim them. Come put on your house slippers. Come over here, put on your stuff and let's get to work. That's what this place means for me. And that's what, you know, I hope that this place means for everybody that come here.
So dual citizenship, you guys hold dual citizenship, right? American and for the Nation of Hawaii, right? And is it mainly because you guys want to use voting as a tool? Is why you want to hold that as far as like an American citizenship to work inside that system? Because most people would probably like denounce one and hold one, right? Like they'd be like, oh, I want to be one kingdom. But would you say that's pretty much why you guys hold dual citizenship?
I think because we have a constitution that was created in 1995, that constitution did not go any place. There were no representatives elected to fulfill the positions of that constitution for the nation. And as far as bringing up the political side like that, we've always intended to have on elections. You know, as history goes, in the last 20 years, we've had several times where a political process was created by the state of Hawaii for Hawaiians to pick a form of government. But the interference of that alone, being the state or being the federal government's participation, sidetracked our people to a real political process, a free, fair, and impartial political process for our people. Because until we do the elections, until we get to actually do what the state was trying to do for a couple times in the last 25 years, why can't our people hold elections, you know? Not just the nation can be the oversight because we organize to at least get things moving in that direction, but instead of like fighting for mountains or fighting for EV or fighting for basically our health and well-being, you know, in the case of Kauku, then we should pick our own leaders. And then with that electoral process underway, that can really, I think, fine-tune into how we can utilize a Hawaiian electoral process, the voters of that process into the state of Hawaii elections. It's that way, more so. We're not doing them because of the state. We're doing them because probably timely now. Why? Because we've had examples of the state and federal government trying to create political processes for us. It don't work. Why? Because they're always going to have us guided towards federal recognition. By the way, it's not good. So I think it's in that fashion with regards to why we're doing that in the first place, because it's due time too. We've been waiting a long time to actually get this part going, which means that we would have to sign up people to become citizens of the nation so they can participate in the elections. We would have to have an apportionment committee put together, elections committee put together, stuff like that. It's easy. Everybody can help do this, you know. When we do that, instead of just fighting for one area, then the elected officials to that body, and then I can see thousands of people getting involved because they're looking for something. And it doesn't exclude non-Hawaiians. Non-Hawaiians can participate in this government as well. You can be on dual citizenship or dual citizen as well. You know, so it's the reason why we're going into that area, electoral process. You know.
So what do you think about the people that say like we shouldn't be voting in an American system? No?
I think dual citizenship is just a reality of things. Everybody, even the kingdom guys, what they gotta realize is they're still traveling with American passports. They're still using American driver's license. They're still using American money. It's just the reality of the time. So for make like that's not happening is unrealistic. It is happening. We already have dual citizenship going on outside. We gotta live and coexist in that world. So, you know, for the guys that think that, you know, voting in that system is treason or that's wrong and all that, well, that's your personal opinion.
Yeah.
You know, and then that's you know, but the reality is they're here. And so if we're gonna go and get involved, like our uncle's saying, we get the right to do our own political process. And as part of, you know, having these guys occupy us, I still get to vote too. So why not do both? You know, why take away one and just do one and spite the other and make like the other no exist? It does exist. And when it's right time, when we get our political process going at the same time, these two things, we can merge the two and have these two things going at the same time. And it's not, no more treason involved when you're just trying to, you know, get back, you know, your sovereignty or trying to take care of your people.
Yeah, it's treason. No way. Treason if they vote is. I think the better way to put that is they're forced to vote in these elections under military occupation. You know, and that is exactly, you know, me too. If I never had to vote in a system, I wouldn't vote in a system. But I want to vote in a system because I choose to vote in a system, and that's why. It's simple. You know, it don't matter. You know, sometimes if I knew I used to use my just myself as an example to go against the grain all the time. You know, because you had all these staunch independence guys, no vote, the system illegal. We jump inside it, I jump inside it, and I support the government because I like, sure, there's some kind of unity from our side. We're trying to connect. Now, if it don't work out, then, you know, while we went in, we tried. If we had more people that felt the same way like me, we could have taken over the whole thing too. The processes that has been created, you know. It happened this way. It happened several times already. And so, but you cannot, you know, it all boils down to what does that political process really, what is the basic fundamental of that political process? Is your identity. You like a federal identity on the United States government, or you like your identity as a Kanaka Maoli on our restored country? That's what's happening when it comes to that, because then the identity again goes with the responsibility of that identity. You guys like save the environment and the invasive species that coming in, you like cut them down. Well, guess what? Used to have people was in charge of all this environment and all that, and that's the one that today, we as Hawaiians, this is what we trying to fit back into the Ahupua'a system. Look beautiful, but no more people on top there anymore. You know? So it's important. That is the kind. You know, that's the other kind. If you believe that they're committing treason, well, hey, you know what? I give them a reason for committing treason. I don't give a rip.
So sovereignty versus federal recognition. What would you say is the difference for people? Like why one and not the other? You have like an analogy to break that down, like sovereignty versus federal.
Well, I think it's both of them is sovereignty, right? But you have one federal and you have one independence. And even a more sophisticated independence because it's a restoration of independence in our case. The United Nations, when says that when you have finally found a full measure of self-governance, it's free association with it's integration with an independent state, free association with an independent state, or independence, total independence. And you know, for years we always talked about what they should add another category for when they overthrow countries. It should be restoration of an independent state, right? So that is where we come in with sovereignty, because at the same time when we say federal recognition versus sovereignty, in this case independence, then federal recognition is basically the foundation comes from the same law, the apology law. So the federal rec supporters going always, and that was Senator Inouye's baby, federal recognition. He wanted us to become federally recognized tribal status, which would have totally gotten rid of everything we ever knew about Hawaii. And so that's why the independence stance was so powerful and such a pain in the okole for these politicians 25 years ago. So like, wait, what, you know. And by the time they realized what was happening is now you're starting to learn about the independence side, the overthrow and what happened, all the treaties we had, everything started to boom, 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 one by one. So FedRec and independence is really what it's about, or integration versus, you know, independence. That's what it is, right? According to the United Nations Charter, the language anyway.
So if you were to take federal recognition, does that take independence off the table once you go that route?
Yeah, for them, yeah, you can say you want to be federally recognized and all that, but as long as we don't give up independence, independence is still on the table, no matter what they do, and that's their problem. You know, you cannot take away what we've already proclaimed way back then. You cannot take them away. You're too late. You came later on. You guys didn't figure out the apology bill can be used for federal recognition too, right? Then that's why they went in. A small start, real quick. Native Hawaiian Constitutional Convention. In 1996, 25,000 people voted for sending delegates to a Native Hawaiian Constitutional Convention. 1998, 70 plus delegates were chosen from all over the islands to convene a constitutional convention. After a few years of constitutional convention and building and relationships, then maybe 80% of the body was looking at independence as an outcome. We created two documents, one federal rec, one independence, that was supposed to go out to the people in Hawaii, to our people. It got stopped. Senator Inouye created a federal task force just about the same time, in 2000 or 1999, 2000. That federal task force yanked maybe 20 to 30 delegates from the Constitutional Convention and the federal task force created the Akaka bill. And that is the story of that. So what I getting back to, you know, really what was the impact as soon as the apology law passed? The state was unaware of the depth or of the power of that law. And we had Francis Boyle's testimony. This was all locked in 1993, right? And that's what we were standing off already. There was no doubt in our minds, hearing from an international lawyer that still teaches international law at the University of Illinois today. So it's real clear that you know, again, we learn it, you know. Even though there's a law passed 25, 27 years ago, we're still learning about its impact, and oh my God, you know, we never know this, we never know that. You know, and as these types of interviews and talk story sessions happen, and we can get that message out, that's really what it takes now, a lot of that kind. And you know, people gonna do what they're gonna do on their emotions and stuff, but once you understand who you are, you know, that our national identity today is still up for grabs, at least from the standpoint of the supporters of federal recognition. They were worried about losing their health, housing, education, or federal funding and stuff like that, which is, you know, they granted that, yeah, but when you look at them from an independent view, that's owed to us. Yeah, you guys owe us that kind of funding and some. You know.
Yes, there's a kind of preservation when people think about federal recognition. When, you know, like how Uncle said, the old timers, that's the only thing they thought of was just saving, you know, what get or you know. But like how Uncle said, the apology bill will allow these two forms of sovereignty for emerge. One was just an easier pill for these guys to swallow. You know, they don't like look our side because more complicated, more work, right? But that's not up to them to decide. It's up to us to decide. And that's why get plenty supporters for federal recognition, because they see stability over there. Whereas independence gonna take some work, gonna take some time, right? But that's all we get is work and time. We're trying to restore justice to ourselves, you know. And so it's, if you choose to be independent or you choose to be federally recognized, it's a personal decision. But for us, you know, once we made our decision, whatever decision they make, no impact us. What we did was we held on to that part so that we can educate other Hawaiians to see if that's what the route they let go. And then when they make their decision, they can make their decision. But in the meantime, that shouldn't be made for everybody all across the board. That's where we're going to step in. That's why Uncle is involved in every single political process. Some people think the thing is doomed from the beginning. But we don't know that until we get inside. If we don't engage and we let them decide for us what happens, and all we're going to do is protest from the outside, of course, what you think going to happen, you know? That's why we got to get involved and get inside. The same thing like voting, same thing like every political process. And, you know, as guys, we get taken to the cleaners all the time when we get involved in stuff, you know. Some people might have one view about a certain thing. We have a totally opposite view. And they get upset and they get mad because they don't understand, but we got to be over there. It's not us guys giving up your rights and all that. If you don't give up your rights, nobody can come take your rights. Even when we go inside there, we go inside there knowing that. Inside here, you cannot get inside here and take away my identity. I already went claim it. So no matter if I play with you or no play with you, I get involved, I no get involved, I'm always going to have that. So we're not scared when we go inside these things. We got to. You know, more of our people understand them this way. More powerful. We could be inside their systems. The next one they jump up and throw up at us, we can take them over. Never happened before because there's only us guys inside there trying to do that, and nobody else, you know, nobody else get the other kind to understand it that way. But today, because of our people's awakening, rising, you know, they're not attached to all these guys. All these guys that was blocking us before, all attached to the system. They're scholars. They make their money off of, you know, this confusion. all these regular Kanaka that when rise up for Mauna Kea and rise up for Kahuku and rise up for Hunananiho, that's the ones that can really make a difference, that can change things because it lies in them. The identity lies in them. Once they claim their identity, they can walk wherever they like our uncle was saying, go wherever I like and understand that this is my kuleana to take care of this whole island. Not just inside here, but we pick and choose when we engage, and that's the, you know, the roundabout way of saying, you know, how independence really is one far superior form of sovereignty.
Plus, anything less than that, we be committing treason
Yeah.
against our sovereignty. You know what I mean?
Right?
Yeah.
So, you want to summarize the apology law just for maybe people that don't know exactly what it is? Like, just give it like a quick breakdown and what it means for Hawaiian people. Like, as far as it pretty much opened the door to independence in a way, right? Where they're like, sorry, right? And so we messed up. So now it's like, okay, we can take it back now.
Right.
Because you're admitting.
Sure. That's one of those, okay. You can pick them right out of Francis. Right out of Francis is the king. Because he wrote the king, you know, he gave his opinion.
Yeah. Francis Boyle is the international attorney that was brought in to give his opinion on the apology law. So this is from international law.
After it passed.
After it passed.
As a sovereignty advisory commissioner, I was a sovereignty advisory commissioner this time, so it was our committee that brought him in and had the state pay for his testimony. He says over here, I understand that the Sovereignty Commission is looking into models and examples of where the Native Hawaiian people or the Native people of Hawaii can go in light of the state legislation that has been adopted, and also in light of the recent federal law that has just been signed into law by President Clinton. I have been asked to discuss one particular model for the future of Native Hawaiian people to consider. I was not invited here to go through all the possibilities that you might have. The model I discuss here is certainly not the only potential option for the people of Hawaii. It is not for me to tell Native Hawaiian people what to do. You, the Native Hawaiian people, or the people of Hawaii, must decide for yourselves. The one thing I can do is describe a particular vision of the future, how you might go about achieving it. What would be the consequences and what would be the basis of authority for doing it, particularly in light of Public Law 103-150. And he goes, when I read the public law for the first time, first thought that occurred to me is now that after 100 years, the United States government is finally and officially conceded as a matter of United States law that the Native Hawaiian people have the right to restore the independent nation state that you had in 1893 when the United States government came and destroyed it. Also a matter of international law, the Native Hawaiian people have the right to now go out and certainly proclaim the restoration of that state. I'm not talking about the state of Hawaii as a part of the United States of America. I'm talking about an independent state under international law and ultimately a member of the United Nations and other international organizations. Then that is probably the biggest thing that was said from the beginning, that what we could do and how we could use this as a basis of authority. And so that, in a nutshell, real easy, was the premise or the basis of authority for developing the Nation of Hawaii, the Constitution and all that. And as Francis goes on, one particular whereas clause that he goes and he looks at, what we look at is the very first whereas clause, and he says, you know, prior to the arrival of the first Europeans in 1778, the Native Hawaiian people lived in a highly organized, self-sufficient, subsisting social system based on communal and tenure, right? With a sophisticated language, culture, and religion. So he goes step by step, 37 whereas clauses. He opens up with telling us, the Hawaiian people, this is who you were before we came and destroyed it. And as he goes on, he describes all the ins and outs and all of the different points where they admit into this. This is how they did that. Every whereas clause is the finding of fact of law by Congress and eventually signed into law by the President of the United States. So it's an admittance against interest, as he calls it. You know, lawyers call it when you admit to something like this. And it goes on not only to admit to all the things they did to us, including statehood, including the Organic Act, all the way. And then it comes to the end where they talk about reconciliation and how, you know, the federal government, the state of Hawaii and federal government, you know, the Congress directs the president to settle this thing with the Native Hawaiian people, right? And then challenges in this thing at the end of the law get one that is in no way, waiving the rights and
No way is this settlement
yeah.
claims.
Says over here, nothing in this joint resolution is intended to serve as a settlement of any claim against the United States. And so Francis was, the kupuna asked him, well, what is this, Francis? He said, no, settlement is forthcoming. You never settled nothing yet. Mm-hmm. So it's forthcoming, but it's also a waiver for private interests that can go back and go, what the hell is this, right? So it was kind of like a catch-22. But in here, in this congressional record before they passed the law, this is what Senator Slade Gorton says. He says, I know that the two senators from Hawaii do not agree with the radicals who wish independence as a result, but the logical consequence of this resolution would be independence. That is the only way the clock can ever truly be turned back. And so Slade Gorton, he was one of the senators at that time. They voted against him. They said, you're crazy, you do this, you can turn things upside down. Again, another point that we as the nation of Hawaii taking in, wow, this just building up our confidence to know, wow, shit, you know, we're really right. Yeah. No more if, ands, or buts. The radicals they was talking about was us. I never get along with Senator Inouye like that. Big time, big time. You can try how many times for like me be part of the whole elaborate group of crooks.
Get you on board with them.
Yeah, no, hard for by somebody who already came from the streets and know the action, and then when you come to something like this, wait, I live on the other side of the law most of my life, and you telling me this now? You guys just went and admit to the biggest crime in the world, you know? And that's how I took this when it first came. It was simple to understand back then. The complication is too many different like opinions and all. You know, only get one opinion that I honor in this, and that's Francis Boyle, because the state paid for this guy to come in. I mean, what else you guys like for legitimacy in this man?
He wasn't biased because they paid,
No, he wasn't biased at all.
If anything, he should have been biased for the state because they paid his
Exactly. See, they never know what will hit them either. But
kind of
Governor here,
too,
well, Governor here will let me in, you know, and that's why, you know, first time I met him, I got arrested in Makapu Lighthouse, 1987. He was on duty, and I always remind him every time we sit down, Brandon, we sit down. Yeah, remember now, Governor, I was on your watch. I got it. But you know, but that goes with the job, you know. You know, you can't handle getting arrested and you're going arrested and you're going to cry because, oh, you did this and you did that. You don't want to get arrested. Just stay out of them. You know, it's not about that. So, the apology law has inside out admitted to pretty much the crime of genocide. In here, Francis Boyle says that I can prove that genocide is, that the Hawaiian people have been subjected to the crime of genocide. And he writes that inside it. That's why we got the genocide law in this packet too, because he refers to Public Law 100-606, which is the Genocide Act, and how he can use this in world court to prove that, we've been subjected to that. He says in there too, in this paperwork, he says that the only way that peoples can ever be saved from extermination is to restore or proclaim their independence, and then ultimately to again apply for UN status and all that. He's real sticky about those things that you could do, because when you think about that simple thing, wow, that's right. What they was doing was exterminating us. After the overthrow, pretty much the kind of what you call that, the Nuremberg Tribunal, they had those human ovens, right? 1921 Hawaiian Homes Commission Act was our Nuremberg. Our people sat in this thing until they figured out, hey, take 50% out. If they get less than 50%, throw them in general population. Right? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because this was federal program, whether they liked it or not. But they used this as not being a federal program so that they could gain federal recognition. They was trying to usurp everything all in one time when that came up. That's what the apology law would turn on them, actually, where they was using this to eventually set up this sly federal recognition type of government.
That was their ultimate.
That was
you think is what they wanted through the apology.
That's what they wanted.
That's what
That's
they
the
wanted.
outcome of the apology law, because this is already set up in place. They never see the blind side coming. They never see Francis Boyle's opinion coming, because once he did that, now unleash your skies, because now the true identity came to light. Not the federally recognized identity, but the national identity of our people still existed because this law exists today. And it's up to us, not up to America. It's up to us what we do with them. So we can, of course they're gonna point us in one direction, but we get this other direction that we can take, and that is made possible by this law. And it's nothing to there's nothing to debate over that. That's just what it is. Whether people recognize it or not is the thing. Whether you're gonna move or you're just gonna talk and grumble about them is another thing. But us guys, we took that law and took them to this point where we're at today, and that's all we're trying to educate people on is come claim your identity through understanding stuff like this. It's not one 4-year course that we're giving people. This is a few documents that you can go to on Nation of Hawai'i.org. You click on Legal Foundation, and all these documents we're talking about right here is right on top there. It's one evening of reading that you can understand that there's going to be one lifetime changer for you, because now you know who you are, now you know your rights. And
let me read these lines. So that being said, as a preliminary, introductory remarks, I would like to go through the public law on a line-by-line basis and provide my analysis of it. Instead, I would encourage all of you as Native Hawaiians to study this. It makes it very clear what happened to you. This is now officially recognized as a matter of United States domestic law. You should be able to take this law anytime you're in court and show it to the judge and jury and say, this is the law, this is what happened to me and my people, and I am basing my conduct, whatever I am doing, on the basis of this law. It cannot be denied. And then he says, as a litigator before the International Court of Justice, I will be able to take this law to the work court and say, the United States government has now officially conceded that it illegally invaded and occupied the Kingdom of Hawaii. For this reason, the Native Hawaiian people would be entitled to a restoration of their independent status as a sovereign nation state, to go back to what they were before the U.S. invasion, to undo the damage that had been done. And he just goes on to just pound away at this thing. And to see that live, and actually really having somebody on your side after, going bugs on trying to be heard, right? That's what the apology law.
So now we're over 20 years later, when the apology law was passed in '93. How come we're not independent straight now with what they said? So I think people would be curious as, okay, so we have this, so what's happening? How come we're not independent yet? 20 years later.
I think one of the things is that we've learned that as loud and strong as this may be, they still get on economically get on different reason why people look at this that way, just as on reading material or something, not so much attached to them. And so we've noticed over the years that, well, if we're in a country, then we got to think about, well, what will make our economy tick, what will make those things happen. And so to come around on building the economic side of us, all the initiatives that we need to set in place, that's what we're in motion of right now. That is the outcome, and the only, probably the best way I can see that we can come about to building Lahui is build up our economic or social infrastructure and all that kind of stuff. At least in here, we can be that example. There's just about a little stuff that we're going to be doing. Even the coin, the exchange. I mean, I don't know if Brand told you, but we get on pod wave rail coming through here too. That could be on. But those things is the kinds of things that we can exercise in here. We got the broadband going already. We yet to deploy the water system, the water box. And that's going to be huge. But all these things is for all people. Really, I don't know, personal. Yeah, I like my share, like everybody else, right? But it ain't something that the kind.
Plus, it's like the kind too. It's like, you know, you being stranded out there in the water, and you're hanging on to this flotation device known as your life, right? You're in the state of Hawaii and all that, and yeah, sure, you get the right to be independent, but you know nothing else for let go of this flotation device and grab one out on you just yet. And that's what is stopping everybody today. It's a personal reason. The government is not stopping that. Nobody can stop that. You have to carry that on, and that's what it is. We cannot wait for somebody to do the work for us. We like independence. That means exactly what it means. You have to be independent. You have to let go of your dependencies, whether it's your job, whether it's your lifestyle, whether it's the kind, you know, it's a full-time thing that people can take on, and not everybody is ready for that. We've had this law for over 25 years, 28 years now, you know, and still people, you know, hesitant on taking that leap of faith. But that's what it's going to take in order for independence to happen. The law is already in place. The flotation device is actually out there waiting for you. You just got to have enough courage for let go of this one and grab that one and go. But until that happens, independence is not going to happen for us if we're waiting for somebody else to give them to us. We gotta claim them. We gotta claim our identity.
We gotta build the foundation. All that.
Yeah,
exactly, like
all of
that's
us.
exactly what you guys are doing here.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you're trying to build that foundation to work
infrastructure,
towards independence, right?
Yeah.
Because you cannot just be I'm independent and just you know not have your economy, not have the land or whatever it is, and be like driving around in my car all day. I'm independent now. Like there's more to it, right? So I think maybe that's what people gotta look at when they cannot just say, oh, we have this law, we can be independent. No, you have to work, right, to make that and sustain that, right? Because if you just drive around in your car all day, I'm independent, like, what are you really doing, you know? Like, you're not doing anything you're not creating anything for your nation or anything like that, right?
Yeah, it's obvious. Money make everything tick, and U.S. currency is, you know, the game of today. But once us guys start exchanging that, and we start pulling them out of the system this way, and gain ground with our own monetary system, that is a mean change right off the bat. Because now what Brand talking about is self-determination, right? People don't know that it's a self-determined activity you gotta do. That's according to international law and all the norms in the world. Self-determination, self-governance. That's what they constantly talk about, the United Nations, indigenous people's rights. So you yourself gotta get off your okole and get involved. Get involved at every level. We educate on 4 categories a lot. We actually use the United Nations Charter, Article 73, and it says to ensure with due respect to the culture of the peoples concerned, their political, economic, social, educational advancement, just treatment and protection against abuse. Number one, 73A. That's Article 73A. So that language was never not enforced, but was never like constantly put out, emphasized in communities all over the world, let alone in Hawaii. You know, I never know social was health, housing, education, employment, elderly, handicap, all that stuff, right? I thought social was social studies. When I went to school, I was learning about different countries and all that, you know. And economics is, you know, so politically is how we vote on things, how we come to a decision, whether it's raise the hand or technology or whatever. Economics is how you make your money as an individual, as a group, family, as a business, as government. And then that determines your social abundance, so to speak. You know, how well you can be, your health, your housing, your education, all those things determine on your basis of your economy. And then the culture of the people is concerned, they talk about it in the United Nations, in our case, Hawaiian, Kanaka. And we got robbed, you know. That to ensure we do respect to the culture of the people's concerned was the first political process for Hawaiians, believe it or not. Article 73, and that about what came about was statehood. That's why I got them in here. They're apologizing for statehood. They're apologizing for the illegal state. Everything that they're saying, whereas, is illegal in the apology law. They admitting to everything they did to us, including creating this state.
Right.
You know, but it's not just words saying, well, you know, 1959 statehood. Oh, they're not like going in depth over there because they know that Japanese Americans stole our identity. The people, the culture of the people's concern in 1945 to 59, our identity was taken by the Japanese Americans. They were real powerful, came back war heroes, you know, they coming out of their own freaking suppression and oppression because of the war and them being Japanese ancestry, all that kind of stuff, right? But still, you know what, you guys may steal our identity. So you have to have had somebody powerful in the government, all the way to the United States government, right? And there was Senator Inouye at that time. He was the guy who was involved right from the get-go. So, again, the culture of the people's concern, which was supposed to be Native Hawaiians in 1945, actually turned to Japanese Americans by the time the process got done. Why? Because the Native Hawaiian people were like, we were shoved under the rug. Like, and you know what, you guys are going to be Americans. We're going to start with the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act. And then 1945, okay, now, political process, like now Yaupuni, remember now, this is a political process that we're not participating in. Everybody else but us. And then the ones that participated that was Hawaiian, they was already the kind indoctrinated, you know, pledge allegiance to the flag, all that kind of stuff. So, apology is so much to do with how sorry they are for what they did to us.
Well, hopefully, it's, you know, one day we can use that though, like, and really gain our self-determination.
Yeah, I think it's going to help us just come together. That's what is needed. Not so much all the details and all this stuff. You know what? This open and close. This could be our country right there. It is in a file. You know.
Read that when you can.
So what do you think, Brian? What do you think is the best way to give someone that little for let go of their flotation device and take that step? What do you think they need?
Well, I think the first part, you gotta believe that it's possible. You gotta believe that you have rights, that they exist today. Once you learn that, then the possibilities open up to all kind of other stuff that we're doing on our side already in the nation, which is building economic independence, which is building, you know, political activation, which is building all these other things that going to happen because we know who we are. And so now to build that other flotation device so that people can let go of America's hand and let go of, you know, that their attachments is like how Uncle is saying. That's what we're building on this side. one other monetary system, one other way of doing business with each other, and that doesn't go, out there and break American laws and all that. We're doing this right now in their face, in real time, parallel to that system going on. We don't need to give up nothing right now that we don't like give up, but we can slowly start to. It's like you're trying to quit cigarettes, right? You cannot just, not everybody can just stop and put the cigarette down.
Yeah.
But you go from smoking 1 pack a day to smoking a few, and then you slowly just start to get away. That's what it is. We gotta quit America. The only way we can quit America is if everything in our lives is Hawaiian. Meaning IDs, meaning passport, meaning political process, meaning currency, meaning all these things. That's what we're building on this side. So the way people can start by doing all these things is they gotta find themselves first. That's why we give people these documents. And again, I'm going to say go to nationofhawaii.org. You click on our legal foundation and get all those documents over there.
Yeah.
You download that, start reading that, and then reach out to us guys on Facebook, on Instagram. We're doing plenty of educational meetings. People can come over here and we can get into the questions they really get into, because it's really that simple. You don't need to go to college. You don't need to pay us for any of this education. You come over here and you learn, and that is the very, very, very beginning. Kind of think about this as like a monetary solution, or a solution for me get out of paying my mortgage, or one way for me get out of going to jail. Gotta be for real. You gotta understand. It's a long-term thing that can be safe, but you gotta be safe with how you use them. That's the other power that you get. Yes, you have all these rights. Yes, whatever people are doing to us is illegal, but if you don't know how to use this, you're gonna get abused. And so that's part of the education too, knowing when and where and how we do them. But it starts with us. We gotta have accountability in this thing. Nobody can give us anything. In life, our kupuna was never given stuff. Kupuna never just throw fish at them and throw kawa at them. They had to go till the land. They had to go work with what nature gave them. Right? We never go against nature. Wherever the water will flow, we just put our little spigot over there for run the water into our lo'i and all that. We work with the system. We adaptable. Our people is like that. We're not used to just getting handouts. Never gonna be easy for us guys. We gotta live one real life, like one real, and take responsibility in this. So it starts with our education first. And people can reach out to me, Brandon Maka'awa'awa, on Facebook, and we get time for educate our people. We get time for do, all this work that we're doing, and we might not have time for get out there and be at every single movement and stand in front line with everybody, but we get time to educate people on their rights.
Because that's probably the main thing.
That's the main thing.
Educated. And that's what I've been reiterating in these videos too, is that there's no excuse nowadays on getting educated, because you can go on YouTube right now and find whatever and learn that, or and then you can learn nowadays. It's not like before. We never have smartphones or the computers, and then again, that's even more no more excuse. If you offering, you putting out your hand, come learn. And I think I would please take advantage of that, because I'm just getting my mind blown over here ever since I've been here. And for people that don't know, this is a modern day apupua. And that's what you guys are also building, just sustaining on here, right?
Yeah.
Just so we so you can get off that auto flotation device, and you can be on this one now, which you built, right?
Right. That we're gonna all build together,
right?
And that everybody get one part in.
Now we can throw the lifesavers out there.
All the guys.
Yeah.
Come back. Yeah.
Come get one to that.
And then you can come show them now.
Yeah.
So you do some work in the UN. You represent. So explain what you do with the UN. You had a couple videos out. Just explain to the people.
Yeah. Well, the Nation of Hawai'i is part of the United Nations Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues, and basically, this is one forum where indigenous peoples actually get one voice in the UN. Before the forum was, you was in one committee, and you had to get invited to that, or you had to do all these other things. And then about maybe 20 years ago, they went and create the United Nations Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues. And the Nation of Hawai'i has been a part of that for the last 4 years. This year got postponed because of the coronavirus, but basically we go over there to not necessarily seek the help of the United Nations, because we know that, just politics, right? But we go there to share our stories, to network with other indigenous peoples, and to really share what we're doing, because everything we do over here is not only for the Hawaiian people, but it's for all peoples. National sovereignty is one right that every human being has. And that's why Uncle talk about genocide and talk about what Francis Boyle talks about, is when you suppress people's national sovereignty, when they have that, that's a form of genocide. And so when we go to the United Nations, it's not to go over there and badmouth the U.S. and do all of that. The way we badmouth the U.S. is we throw out their law. The way we badmouth the U.S. is just throw the truth out there and let people decide for themselves what it is, because we here because of what the U.S. already did, And now we're here to explain to you how we have to navigate this system. And so it's, and it's also to show like our indigenous brothers and sisters one different way of exercising our sovereignty, not necessarily depending on the United Nations to do anything, or even their own country to do anything, but it's up to us guys to go back and organize our people to do this ourselves and get that going. And so it's mainly just to build that also international relations for our nation, right?
Right.
Because we are a nation, we have to exercise international relations. That's part of the four aspects of an independent state. So you have to have fixed territory, distinct population, government, and you have to engage in international relations. Our nation, they call it the Montevideo Convention. That's what determines what a nation is. It's not to be recognized by the United States or to be recognized by the United Nations even. It's if you exercise in all four things, which the Nation of Hawaii is doing right now, that's the international code for one nation.
So, do you think people like Kanaka are ready to be breaking away from the U.S.?
I think they get into that point. The first thing, like how we always talk about, we gotta learn, right? So it's like, when Uncle was talking about the deoccupation is happening already, because we deoccupying them from that hold that they have on our minds, thinking that we need them to be independent. We know that we don't, us guys, right? The more of us that understand that is gonna make sovereignty happen more quicker for our people. We just gotta believe in first ourselves, then we gotta believe in each other, then we gotta trust each other, and then we gotta just all move together and not wait for somebody to give us a signal, or wait for one country to come over here and do anything for us, when we already know not gonna happen. We gotta start them already. Nobody can come over here and do any of the heavy lifting for us guys. We gotta start doing them amongst ourselves. That's why it's called self-determination and self-governance.
So Uncle Bumpy today, if you could go back to Uncle Bumpy occupying Makapu, what was one piece of information you'd tell him from everything you've gathered throughout your life up to this point?
And one thing,
If you think like, oh, this is one thing I wish I knew when I was at Makapu at that time.
see, I wouldn't give up anything I did before. And probably I wouldn't be here if I did anything different,
It's true, yeah.
So yeah, because I always moved that way, though. Always, like, as long as Bumpy wasn't thinking, then I would be alright.
Just doing.
Yeah, just follow it. Whatever our ancestors, God, whoever you believe that guides you personally. I think I trusted that more and more as I was getting older. And yeah, I recognize all other kind, but all the whatever things I run into, obstacles, barriers, and all that stuff was more for me, for wiser. I knew when it was time for me too, right? The things I was facing like that. When it was too harsh, I'm like, come on, yeah, I did this. So if you can recognize those things, That will keep you more resilient and strong. You know, you don't need to be strong, you need to be resilient in this. Our people is like that. We're a perfect example because we still alive today. We still live on our land. We still exercise our rights on our land, and we still exercising our political status on our lands. We're doing that already. See, with the nation too, it's important to know that we have been here too long to not recognize who we are. And you know, we get enough recognition from movies we did to you know, government documentation that we got, even from the president. We get all this stuff in our archives, and it has set up the legal foundation and communications for our people. That was all put together for that. It wasn't, you know, it's something I just said like, plus now I know why Auntie Pilahi Paki gave me that name, pu'uhonua. It was her I got that name from. She first seen me. Like, you pu'uhonua? And I'm like, what is that? Right? 20 years old, forget it. And the only thing I could think of City of Refuge, but eventually as time went by, then my kupunas, that was the creators of this constitution, they told me, no use Bumpy, you gotta use pu'uhonua. And I'm like, that's Kolohe name, Bumpy. And I go, oh, and you know, they're telling you all this kind of stuff, right? And I'm young at that time, you know, I was 66, now I won't be 66-ish, yeah. So that's, you know, that's one archives in itself, that's, you know, that's been passed on, carried on, and then now going to be passed on to, it's being passed on to everybody, all people and all that.
So, what is one piece of information that you've really, you know, held on to working closer with Uncle this whole time? Like something that you really took that always resonates with you? Something he instilled in you, I think.
Aloha. You know, and having that aloha to see things through, to not be afraid, to always, you know, try something that might look nuts, or might look dangerous, or might look bad, but you know, it's these the kind three aspects of aloha Uncle talk about all the time: is good, bad, and ugly. You know, get one good aloha that is easy for everybody to do, but also get one bad looking aloha, and then get one ugly looking aloha. And a lot of that kind of stuff that we used to do before in the 90s got painted as the ugly and the bad looking aloha, but that was aloha. That was the truth. That's why that was something that guided our people, that, you know, whatever is right and wrong, you know, in the wash, sometimes it's gonna come out ugly because people built their lives on the wrong, and it wasn't their fault. It was done before them, you know. So when you washing justice through the injustice, you're gonna have some ugly parts, but always have aloha. You know, always be aloha. When, you know, these people we're challenging or we're going against right now, they had nothing to do with the overthrow. Personally, it wasn't there. You know, the system and all that, it wasn't there. You know, and so it's having that aloha to not be afraid of that, to always engage, to always talk story, and to always like also not give up who you was, no matter, you know. And I think that's the most important part I learned from Uncle, is that aloha.
So what is something you guys are trying to accomplish in the short term, like maybe this year, to try and move forward, you know?
Well, right now we tried to settle this 25-year-long commitment with Bank of America, $150 million commitment that has not been settled yet, which, you know, the Native Hawaiian people was actually had one commitment of $150 million from Bank of America to provide homes for our people on DHHL lands, and 25 years still they never finished them. And so this year with you know, with just how we've been keeping after it, Uncle, he'd been doing this from the very beginning, now, you know, I'm involved at the ending part, along with Uncle, along with, you know, Ian Chan Hodges, our organization, Nopoi Kokua. We're really getting to a place where we're getting close to settlings, you know, and that $150 million now is a bigger settlement. You know, it's something that can change the lives of all our people, because all our people are going to be involved in this settlement. They're going to get one piece of whatever we create out of this. So that's kind of like one thing that I think that we're trying to finish this year. Something real.
Yeah.
You know, not just something short term that's going to be good for this year, and you know, we're going to have this event and all that, which is, you know, that's fine, but our people need help right now.
Yeah.
What is some things that can help right now immediately? That settlement, if Bank of America finally came to the table and settled with us this thing, lives change over here in Hawaii quickly, you know, and so that's one thing the nation is working on.
So what do you think is the biggest issue facing Hawaiian people today?
The biggest issue facing Hawaii, cost of living, inflation, dealing with all that stuff like that. Because that's what they're thinking about right now, not sovereignty, you know. And so that's why we constantly like try to get the economic side going. Like Brand said, we get these resources coming in. We're talking $300-400 million. We can build up wealth funds. We can start the bank that people can be shareholders of, stuff like that. And we have other projects coming out. The water machine going in the water, they're gonna have to buy that machine. The government gonna have to buy them. For what? Clean out the streams, ponds, and everything, rivers that we have right now. That is, the ocean is filthy. That's right, totally filthy. And one of the hugest things is that we kind of completing right now is the bee, breeding bees, actually queen bees and stuff like that. So we're just starting to like get our foot settled in there. We get some important things coming up this week, and just we get several projects going to be really good. They're all right around the corner, like this month, next month, kind that we're looking at to see headway on them.
So do you think the government cares about the Hawaiian people? The state government?
I think they have no choice but to care. They have to a certain point. It's what we do. You know, not so much what the government do, because the government really, they're gonna be one impediment to us, whether they give us help or not. That help always get an attachment to it, right? So we gotta understand that first, and understand that the government is not, you know, they have to do something. That's the mandate. That's what the apology law talks about, is that reconciliation process. So sometimes when you hear the thing come up, when you get like this blue ribbon committee and all that, and people get all, you know, they get scared about them because it look like the government gonna come in and do something. Well, the government is mandated by the apology law, which we call the apology mandate, to reconcile with our people. So reconciliation needs to happen. And so that's why they gotta keep doing something. Like, you know, they don't really care about us, right? So to say, if you're not Hawaiian, it's hard for you to really care that much, right? Everybody looking out for themselves. Not the government, it's the people. They're looking out for themselves. They don't see that, you know. But the government has to do something for us because of this law. Whether they like it or not, reconciliation gotta happen. Just because it hasn't happened yet, no mean it's never gonna happen. It's like something, it's like one homework project you keep putting off and keep putting off. That's what the state is doing with us. They keep putting off this stuff. Never gonna go away. They gotta pay the piper one day, you know. And so this is, to us, whatever the state do, depends on what we do. We can activate that. We put the pressure to the state. Just like how these arrestees did for this Kahuku project and all that. The state wouldn't have gave a shit about them. You know, the state wouldn't have changed their zoning laws and all that if the people never activate themselves and put themselves out there. And the people wouldn't cause the state to care about them. Same thing we gotta do for us with Hawaiians. Every Hawaiian issue, we gotta make the state care. We gotta be there. We gotta show up. We gotta know who we are. And we gotta engage.
Yeah, the government don't know how to solve them. That's why.
Yeah.
So the solutions are all coming from the community, like Auntie Twinkle them came over here, tried to figure out whatever, boom, boom. 3 years later, they was like doing their own thing. And look at now, they get their own land. So coming from the community, the government, to me, the government restricted, good people over there, but they restricted their politics, his barriers, all that kind of stuff too. If we're talking Aloha, that's the truth about that, Aloha. And then look ugly, right? Because the kind of things that the government doing at the same time. But if we taking the position as they don't know how to solve this thing, maybe we can help them by doing this, doing that, right? When Auntie tell them guys, all them guys about us guys being their inspiration and making sure that they know we was involved, they're like, oh fuck, yeah, see, they're stuck. And so if that is affecting good success in our communities, right, the communities we see as communities, not just one community, that kind, but then that is working, it's working. I mean, look at that. You guys look at Auntie, you guys like use her as one human resource on the beach, and okay, Auntie, okay, just give us the data, you know what, Auntie? Nah.
Cut them off.
Ball, she ain't cut them out, boom.
So she did everything herself for
everything.
their pu'uhonua over there,
Yeah. That's, look at that. That's the kind of stuff make us happy too. It's big battles that, and yet never had government. Well, government did, I gotta say, they came in after, because there wasn't, Auntie them not like us. James go over there and they get other people that are around them, so they had a good support group that, I had to walk through this, walk through that. So they come to us, that man, no trust him. No trust him. And so they, based on us, with their experience in working with these people, they carved out one good relationship and ended up getting, this land. That's what I think about the government. Not so much hate us, they don't know how for freaking that kind. Yeah, you get some people over there, they don't like us no matter what. But I think what has changed, and I mentioned this one time in a talk that I did on, that as on kupuna, I've seen the change in the generations, how a kupuna can get left behind. And that's not just Hawaiian now, we're talking about any nationality. That means the guys in politics too. So if you're in one position and you're older and you get on bad, the kind from before, then you should resign. You should get out of there, because what's happened is the level of awareness, like you say, technology and all that kind of stuff has brought an onslaught of different, faster, like when shotgun blast education, boom, anytime, boom, anytime. This morning, I wanted to find out some information out there. Well, why they paint the beehive white? Well, because then if hot, the white color will make them cool inside for the bees, and I go, oh shit, look at that. Right? Darker colors make them more warm in the winter time. So it's that kind of thing is happening, that these little things that seem like little, we're all communicating. We communicate with Auntie and with James. We stay in touch, because why the relationship that we built as a nation can actually go out and help them now, whether it be broadband technology, right? Actually came from James, the introduction came to us, they went back, now they're going to get broadband technology down there, guaranteed, That's one of the things that we get going on over here already, experience with that, and now Auntie them, we get access to guys that do the aquaponic farming, now they can grow all this food that is, and it's already set. You get X amount, we can buy them every year, stuff like that. So all these different types of relationships that we build, or connections, contacts, boom, they need help down there.
Are they gonna kind of take the model you guys here and apply it there?
Oh, yeah.
Some modifications?
Yeah, no, they get a mean plan, them, mean. But they get the resource, right? Or they gotta build the resource.
Yeah.
It's not like they have them.
They got a fundraise.
They gotta
do all
fundraise.
that.
And,
But the basis of that plan is
Yeah.
off of us,
Which
what
is
we
pretty
did over
good.
here.
Like you guys did a
Yeah,
lot
yeah.
of the footwork already.
We did a
so
lot of the
it's-
footwork, Uncle. You keep all these extensive records from the beginning of this place to the end, the receipts, everything, the decisions that was made, what was built first, all those things. We get on clear path for explain to somebody. You're gonna create one pu'uhonua. This is the game plan. This is the playbook. How you doing?
yeah, even a non-profit, yeah.
Yeah, even helping them set up the non-profit from the very
Give 'em
beginning.
all.
Uncle told him, you guys like do this for real. You gotta go get one non-profit. You gotta do this and do that, and mahalo to Andrea Tupola and James McKelly. Them guys gonna get that together. Build that non-profit, and that's part of the reason why they're in the position they're in today.
Yeah.
All this information that people would just look right through and just go, oh, we gotta get the land, we gotta do this, do that, do this. Well, before you go do that, you gotta go do this, do this, do this, do this, so that when you get over there, you're not all burnt out trying
They
to go
couldn't
back
tell
and
them
forth
that.
and do. Yeah, they had to experience that themselves. They had to understand that themselves. But yeah, once them get going, they're gonna be that much more ahead than even us guys was when we went first open up, right? So they gonna learn all this different stuff. So imagine when them finally get going and they get their businesses going, just like how us guys get over here. So we get 2 pu'uhonuas. Now we're like doing 3rd pu'uhonua. We get double the value, double the lessons, double the energy, double the people. We can create one even better pu'uhonua the 3rd time. Then when you go to the 4th time, so all of that is a multiplier effect that is already happening, that is being done right now without government help, without just Kanaka.
Maybe a collaboration.
Yeah, collaboration,
permits and
help,
shit like that.
help
That's
get
it.
stuff, around, but Auntie basically is doing their job for them, like Uncle was saying. She's the human resource out in Waimanalo, that they desperately need because the government is not filling that need. And that's what the nation do too. We're not trying to attack the government and bring them down. We're trying to fill in the needs that they're missing right now. Big needs is like environmental cleanup, taking care of Hawaiians, housing, all that kind of stuff. That's what we're focusing on right now. Not worried about what they do with hotels and all of that kind of stuff. That's not the business we're gonna go into. We gotta fill our needs over here for our communities. What is lacking out there? Education, housing, all that kind of stuff. Environmental cleanup. That's mainly the kind in this. Our focus.
Is that kind of the vision too, to see more ahupua'a open up, and is that something
More
you guys would like
pu'uhonua.
to see?
Yeah.
Pu'uhonua.
And if you're ahupua'a in play, then
We go for the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Better,
Yeah.
Because the land they have is not really like how you guys have here. Like it wasn't.
No, they're not on a watershed, but get water over there. Like they said, get water over there someplace.
That's another the kind, another rule. I mean, another the kind, suggestion that we gave them is don't just go grab land just because it's land.
Yeah.
You gotta go find water.
Look for the water.
Yeah, look for the water first, most important part. And then, but yeah, no, the environment is totally different. That's why I get stuff like aquaponics that they can do, where you don't need the land. The aquaponics, that's the perfect place for doing aquaponic farm because you get full sun.
Right.
And so the aquaponics, you just go inside beds, raised beds. You don't need to go inside the ground. So that kind of stuff, perfect for them. They can be the supplier of vegetables to all kind of different places. That's a huge business. We would purchase from them. Or we would tell all these businesses that we get would purchase from them.
We'll send one kind business plan to them with from Harry. And
How you create one aquaponics business
Organic,
on 2 acres. Organic.
That would be nice if they do that. I'm sure a lot of people on that site too would probably go there and purchase.
Big time.
Yeah, this the guy though, because would be all sold. All the stuff that they make would be sold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They get on market.
Yeah, between them and you guys.
Yeah,
and
no,
all
we're
that.
not experimenting with
He's
the
the
kind.
Harry Ako is the top guy too in aquaponic. All that stuff to do with that. He's the
In the
guy
country, in the United
in
States.
the United States.
Did he help you guys out a lot over here too?
Just with information and stuff, and he real close with us. Like whenever we need something and all that, that's why he would share with us his plan and how to get that going. So we would share that with Auntie. He Hawaiian too.
Yeah.
So, that's the kind Hawaiians, they in these different spots. They might not be sovereignty activists or out there and stand in the front line, but you get people, you get people that support in their own way. And that's the way that, that's the way we see it with like building this new Aopu'a, is once we're ready, we bring in all these experts and I think gonna go. So it's just getting our people to that point where, you can see the flotation device float up to the top of the water. And when you're ready for grab is when you're ready. But it's already happening.
And you pretty much have your own flotation device, like how you say, what your expertise is, and you know what I mean? Like that's kind of what you're gonna bring to the table.
Actually, we got to land there, so we landed. We'll bring all the rest, we pull them in now. We just throw out the life rafts and okay, that.
Yeah. So this one's a little bit off subject now, but if you could bring back one Hawaiian monarch to pick their brain, who would it be?
I think probably Kamehameha.
First.
Yeah. Just for understand.
Tutu man would be okay.
Yeah.
That's what he behind this, all this. Tutu man would be the one.
Yeah, because he wouldn't know how to help navigate this kind of
because
stuff.
after he went, then that's when everything went change. The whole
bring
couple
everyone together,
system.
Yeah. Not for overpower people.
Right,
but But he would
in a
know
different way,
how for just stay himself. He knew himself. These Europeans that came in, he know how to use them. Let them use him. That went when he went.
Right, like the protectorate and all that
that kind of stuff. So he wouldn't know how to navigate these waters. Even
That's
more
how
so
we're doing
today.
it now.
Yeah, just like him.
It's using
channeling him.
them as a tool, right?
Yeah. But us being the guy that lead them.
Right.
No matter all these business guys, these can be billionaires and stuff that we talk to, that we work with and all that. They're behind us. They're not in front of us telling us where to go and how we gotta do them. If they don't believe in our nation, we don't even carry on one next conversation with these guys.
We're not go there.
We're not go there. Yeah, no sense. Once you do that, gone already. That's what would happen with our people, right? With the monarchy, with all these things, because they went throw money at them, they went throw all this glitz, this glamour and all that, and we got thrown off pace, and we would forget our people. But he wouldn't have been like that. He would have built, in our people. We would have stayed right here.
That's something I always think about, like if we, if the overthrow never happened and we had a monarchy, like how Pono would our monarchs be. Because I know in like Samoa and stuff, they have a lot of corruption and all that. As a, even as an independent nation, So.
Look, Wilcox, he went try to overthrow the monarchy. He's Hawaiian.
Yeah.
He never believed in what they was doing too. He thought they lost their way too. Same thing.
Yeah.
We forget about that because we get all enamored with this history that we think is our national sovereignty, but us is our national sovereignty, not the monarchs.
Right.
Not the king, not the queen.
They never know. They thought it was better. I think Kamehameha III had the worst decision to make, the Mahalo. To me, this was the real bayonet constitution over there on him. Was more. That's when communal land tenure, the Mahalo, changed to subject to native tenant rights. All of our patentees get subject to native tenant rights. There was the watered down version of communal land tenure, which was like undivided interest in communal with all of us, right? And then after the Mahalo, communal going to change, right? Because they're splitting up the communal land tenure into crown, government, wakainana, right? The Mahalo. So when you split up the communal land tenure, even the monarch and them knew that the Hawaiian people still had an undivided interest in the land. They couldn't take that away, so they had to put them subject to native tenant rights. Anything on the ownership would be subject to native tenant rights. They was hiding that for years too. And when the apology law come out, then they started to put that on documents. Well, my wife has said she was title officer forever, 35 years, and She said, yeah, all of a sudden, you know, that was in 93, 94, like she said, wow, this guy is adding this stuff in. See, hon, I told you. That's when my wife was like, you know, she was like totally, oh no. And but then as time went along, right? Because you figure we're poking in the sky, man. It's not like you have anything. And so the apology law was like something huge for us that time. It was like, you know, how you see huge things with technology today. It was like that for us, the apology that time. Because it's kind of like, you know, was like, what? So everybody was on alert. So that scared the politicians. And Senator Akaka was basically the scapegoat for that Akaka bill. Wasn't him.
Was the Inouye bill?
Yeah, it was the Inouye bill. It wasn't Akaka bill, but and I remember several times where I had to talk to him and tell him, Senator, what about our independence? You cannot just bury that. And then he would go off to something else, and I was like, you're American. And so, but that never made me mad with him. It just made me realize, like, oh, shit. You're planning like that, you know? Yeah. That's, you know, but I was real against them, you know. It wasn't like all hunky-dory, like now how I talk it. Uncle was going after him, everybody. Ko, even her. When they arrested us down the Yulani Palace, the next time we came back, hey, she called her a kind, she get her way into the security like that. She, can I talk to Bumpy? So one of the kind, Cappy came with the phone. You know, Princess, like, talk to you. We stay at the Yulani Palace. Just about getting her ready to get arrested, she comes down for me to talk. And wow, this guy's like, you know, the princess, we knew, you know, all that stuff. She went on the podium, go talk. She, you know, our queen did a bad thing, and that's why she got arrested and put in oh fuck, I never liked the kind, bro. I was like, what? She talking boo. And there was going on a court, you know, the princess. But again, you know, as today I think back on all that kind of stuff and I think, wow, you guys had them hard too. You know, as ugly as it seems, they all were like running scared already. Someone get money, right? Big settlement, give them hundreds of millions, couple $100 million, give them this title. They can be the one that can, when they talk about monarchy, they wake up, boom, ko na ko. That's the one. Yulani ko na ko. You know, Yulani Palace, boom. So, good, because not everybody can talk about this. Uncle was involved in everything that had to do with Hawaiian in the last 35 years, like that. Anything and everything. I ran for office in 40 years ago, 1980. I mean, so you know, I ran for Aloha. That was my first taste, but in 1978 I participated, not in the Constitutional Convention that created Aloha, but with Governor Waihe. He wasn't governor yet, he was just a politician, and Peter Apo, this was all anti-Frenchy disorder, and I was that kind like you guys, you know, I was amongst the older, you know, kupunas and stuff like that, but they were younger, you know, that time they were in their 40s and 50s or something like that. So I got to see them, and then eventually I got to yell at them and swear at them, and anti-Frenchy was my auntie for a long time, and she, you know, and I'm like, oh, you know. And that time more worse. You ever go help the state, they ridicule you as the kind, you sell out. So I had another thing going on, like, I'm like, sell out? I may sell out. I'm gonna find out who the guy said I can sell out because I like to talk to you. Because I'm a good discussion, brother. And one of them was Kavika Liu. He came on, I think he came on attorney and he came on doctor. And It's like when you use the Kikuni word or the past ex independence leader. And then I went freaking jamming back on online. What you talking about ex, bro? Where you going with this stuff? Ex. I give up my life for all people. I ain't gonna do that any day. And then he was like freaking blown away. Everything. Yeah, you sound like Kikuni Blaisdell, you guys, you bunch of scholars. Sorry, Kikuni. You gone already. So, just think back a little. No mind us they drifting off into some of that stuff, but get plenty stuff that we get, like Brent said, we get plenty stuff that we have documented like that. So we get our own archives, or people if they like see all the stuff like that. One of the things we was busting out the judges stuff, all the relations we had with Justice Moon. He was the Supreme Court Justice that time. They on you. We get documentation that can show how we collaborated.
So that stuff with T and her case, where her case got dropped down to community service at the Nation of Hawai'i. That was done before, so we get all that old documentation that's why we can do that and resurrect something like that today, because that was the precedence that was set by us 25 years ago. So it's just like us guys handing something to us, like how you're saying, what would you do to help this, Bumpy back then? Well, it's something back then helping us today. So this Bumpy is giving us this for use today. If they never do this back then, we wouldn't be able to do this today. So it's kind of like this Bumpy is helping us. And so just doing that kind of stuff is like
set the foundation.
Unreal.
Yeah.
You think you would have got everything this far without the apology law?
No. That was matter kind. Like I said, the only thing, one case happened at federal court where the judge took away the apology law from me, left me freaking like I never had feet on, and I still had to go through this case. What it really did was, they never charged me for all that stuff. I got charged for the kind. My hand and Marshall's hand were touched like this, and so that was the kind.
Assault.
Assault on the federal marshal.
Federal
marshal. And you want me to plead to, because my hand was on the gate, and then the marshal's hand, he was on the outside, his hand on the gate, and over here, Bumpy in there. So I showed this on court, like, you mean this touch, I pleaded guilty to this touch. Well, he did touch the marshal. I go, well, if I plead into touching the marshal, I'm all good. I don't care what you guys put on top about that, but this is all I did.
And what did you get for that?
Well, actually, I was in 3.5 months in federal holding without bail. They wanted to slow down the movement. So that was from August 1995 to November. And then I came out, I pled guilty to that, then that was it. But I would have to serve 2 more weeks. I went back in prison for a couple more weeks and served that 4 months. He gave me 8 months, but I had to serve 4 months. And then when I came, all that time, when I came out, I had to go halfway house. I put a band on my leg for 2.5 years. I couldn't come into Waimanalo. I couldn't come into this village.
Wow.
Only place in Waimanalo was going straight home to my house. I couldn't go to any store in Waimanalo or gas station or any of that. That was 1995. So, of course, that time I never think was worth it. But as time went go on, I go, well, I chose this, right? You're talking to yourself, right? I go, oh shit. Okay, this part of the action, man, unreal. But I think it was just like Brent said, Aloha. Aloha was, from the get-go that was the whole thing. And even though it looked ugly and looked bad, like everything against you, we had to do that. That had to happen. that had to be brought into court. Everything that took place around that case had to be done that way in order for this to prevail.
To learn,
Yeah, because this on hand off, this whole thing is on hand off. We'll get more lands gonna open. We complete this the deal that coming up. The nation gonna have 4,000 acres turned over in communal to us.
Now where?
Actually central Oahu. So that's just a few of the things that we're waiting on. We gotta talk more about, but it's all in motion already. Everything is in motion already. Yeah, so this bugger may happen as soon as
44,000 acres. Huh?
No, 4,000.
Oh, 4,000.
over 4,000.
That's still a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of work right there. Because this is what?
This is about 55 acres.
55. 4,000 talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
It's a lot to
Yeah.
clear and do all that work on it. But
Yeah.
I think as this movement grows, you can get a lot of people.
You went around already.
Not really, just to where we included Aloha last time
Yeah.
over there.
Yeah,
But
we
yeah.
should take care of it. Yeah,
Take
we
a
can go
look at
more.
that,
Yeah.
I think that's better. You could go in the back and check it out.
Mhm.
Brand can top off that.
Yeah. So, what do you want your legacy to be?
Legacy, I never even think of that. I don't, when people bring them up, I think about it like that. But whatever going to be. And I just not can think of those kinds of things like, because I'm gonna be around for a long time more. So, but one of my granddaughters is named Legacy, so check everything in that one.
That's a good though. Like not worry about what everyone gonna think. Then just do your work. Yeah.
Yeah, just do the work. If I had to worry about that kind of, I already get on big ego. Let me make them any more bigger.
But you feel the same way, Brandon?
Yeah, well,
What do you
you know,
have?
it's just that trying to kind of like leave them all on the field. Not really thinking about legacy like our uncle. That's the kind kupona wisdom that we all should understand today. Is that it's not about us guys, it's about the next generation, and the legacy is what we do today and what we leave for them in the future, because they're gonna take what we did and they're gonna take them even farther than what we did, gonna make what we did look like something that was was good for its time, but they go an evolution to that too. And so just being a part of this whole
Yeah.
nation and all that's our legacy. Establishing that, and getting that started so that our keiki can go, and it's honoring the legacy that was left by our kupuna that when built this constitution for us, and so we just want to cog in the machine, pushing them down.
Yeah, that's the kind. I used to get embarrassed with questions that kind. Oh, would you like this beer? And the kupuna used to like, I don't know what to talk about when you talk about that, right?
Yeah.
But then I just tell my kids, main thing my Evie now,
Yeah.
Evie,
Yeah.
not dust, Evie. You gotta scrape my meat off and Evie. Make sure I go down with my Evie.
So you wanna that's pretty much all I got. So you wanna just tell people, again, where to get more information on the pu'uhonua, what we got coming up as far as next week is?
So next week, March 15th, we're gonna have one Aloha Aina day up here, about 9 o'clock, 9 to, I think everybody gonna leave about 2 o'clock, but we're gonna be, we're gonna be working for like the first couple hours, and we're gonna, talk story, and I think we're gonna have potluck, and then I think they're gonna do protocol up at the top and stuff, and then we're gonna be around for talk story.
Should be on good on.
Yeah, so that should be on.
I think there's gonna be
Good.
more people this
Yeah,
time.
yeah, and that's good.
Yeah.
Because the more we get to talk to in real life, not on Facebook, not through, not through
Yeah,
this
no
kind. We
doubt.
gotta get to them, and they gotta come on the land, and they gotta come see for themselves.
Feel it.
Yeah, see it and feel
Work
it.
the land too.
Exactly.
It was something I never worked on Logi before. ever. So that was like my first time. But it's not, you know, no more a kalo, but we're clearing, and that's just as important. You know what I mean?
That's the main part. That because if you don't see that part, yeah, you're not gonna appreciate the kalo that come out of it. Most times people they just see what they the end result, or they come into the lo'i when the thing is all power and all that stuff is done. But what you guys been participating in, what everybody gonna participate in on the 15th is that laying the groundwork for restore this,
Which is basically, so if anyone that doesn't know, it's like what hundreds of years old.
Yeah, hundreds of years.
Cause like to get the wall for the terrace, and we basically cut down a bunch of trees. Almost got trees fall like
But the kupuna watch out for us. And that's the thing when you go down this journey, spooky, but you get kupuna watching out for us. Us guys, we believe in that. That no matter what kind of decision we make, is the right decision because we're supposed to be doing this. They would be proud of what we're doing, and they're gonna help when the time is right. And so we invite everybody to come down on the 15th. Just try to get here at 9, cause you guys can come early even, in fact, and get here. Talk story and all that. We be out there, and 9 o'clock we can get everybody in. But if you guys come late, no worry. You contact us guys, we come down, open the gate for you, and then of course if you can learn any more information on us, you can go to nationofhawai'i.org. We got a whole legal foundation on there, you guys can check them out. And then my Facebook, Brandon Maka'awa'awa, as well as pu'uhonua, DK Kanahele. That's where we share most of